Today's episode is sponsored by Podmatch. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page. From to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard, Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who wouldn't like to get paid from sitting at home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. So if you are a host or guest and want to start building relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, highly suggest you sign up today at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom and start expanding your network in seconds. Again, that is joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom. Thank you so much to Podmatch for sponsoring today's episode. And now on to my main rant about my school history and the experience I dealt with during my school years. I hope you enjoy. Okay, I don't know if this episode is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. So I'm trying this new voice isolation thing to where it'll prohibit from picking up background noise. I don't know how well it's going to do. We're just going to try it. But anyways, hello, welcome to the Lethal Venom podcast. This is a show where I talk about anything I want with the honest-to-God truth, no lies told. I'm your host, Noah, and for today, I am going to be talking about my school experience. I've gone through school 18 plus years of my life, 22 years of my life, I've gone to school. And in those, or 18, I don't know math. I've gone to school for most of my life at this point. And so I wanted to take a thing down memory lane and describe how my school situation was. I'm going to describe every grade. I am going to call teachers out. I'm not going to do every teacher, just teachers that I think are prone to the story. I will call your ass out. But of course I'll bleep their name so they won't know who it is and I don't get in trouble for blasting their name out on social media. Just some notes. Both of my roommates are gone. One just left. So you may hear background noise. You might hear doors slamming. I don't quite know really what's going on. So if you hear any background noise, I do apologize. But hopefully this new voice isolation thing helps mitigate that. Because usually if they're loud, I have to wait till they're done making noise and then start talking. Which I don't know if you can really hear it in the background to begin with, but you know, I like to have it clean and no background noise. So hopefully this works. We're gonna give it a shot. We also have some survey entries today. Not many, but we had some people submit, and of course, thank you to everyone that took the time and sent a response in. Let's see. I guess we can start at kindergarten. I started kindergarten back in 2000. I want to say 2007. I was 5 years old, I think. Yeah, I was 5. And kindergarten for me, I remember bits and pieces of kindergarten. I learned a lot about myself that year. I learned that I officially can't take naps. Naps were just not in my catalog. They were not in my DNA. Every time that we laid down for nap time, I would always just stare at the ceiling and just sing the kid songs that we learned. That's all I ever really did. And we had to lay on a mat. We laid on a plushy mat that we had to buy, I think. Well, we might not have had to buy it. I can't remember. That was years and years ago. I didn't like eating lunchroom food. I was a very picky eater. Did not want to eat anything. My mom always packed me a lunch to carry with me to class. I was an outcast a little bit. No one really talked to me, which I was shy. I was shy. But I remember, I did get in trouble for the most ridiculous stuff that a kindergartner shouldn't even be getting in trouble with in the first place. I don't know how most schools are, but I would assume that majority of schools have a program. It's in the teacher handbook that all teachers should teach kindergartners how to write and color. My kindergarten or board of education in my school district didn't. It was the parents' job to teach their kids writing so that by the time they start kindergarten, they know how to write neatly and they know how to color neatly. So none of us learned how to write. It was essentially we all had to teach ourselves. I had to teach myself how to write. And I know some people are going to be like, well, your parents should have taught you. Well, let's be honest. Does any parent honestly think that it's their job to teach their student how to write? That's a teacher's job. I mean, or, that's just my opinion. I feel like teachers should teach you how to write. I don't know if it's changed. Maybe kindergartners or elementary school does that now. However, I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, they learned how to write," so it's probably not changed for us. But there's that. So I got in trouble for that. I got in trouble one time for coloring out of the lines for being very sloppy, I guess. Which again, your job to teach me how to color. So I mean, you're getting me in trouble or getting on to me for something I don't know how to do right. So but and then I got in trouble for sticking my tongue out at somebody. I thought, really, really. It was one of those days where a teacher was just having a really pissy day, and she was just taking her anger out on anyone. At that point, um, I've had a few teachers do that where they'll just get mad at students because they're pissed off, and that's their only way to relieve and get rid of some anger is if they take it out on someone and tell someone off. But yeah, overall, kindergarten was fun. Kindergarten wasn't the end all of the best, but it was an eye opener. We'll say that. My teacher was pretty good that I had. I liked her. Except for the fact that I did get in trouble for dumb stuff. She was a good teacher. She liked me. I liked her. Yeah, I liked her. Um, first grade. First grade was kind of the same as kindergarten. Nothing special really happened. I did learn that I couldn't see in first grade. It was my teacher that had pointed it out to me that I might need glasses. My mom told me that she had contacted her saying that she was saying you couldn't see the board. And I remember that moment when I couldn't see. We were in class and I sat close to the back of the room and I actually couldn't see the board, the whiteboard. I physically got out of my seat and walked up to the board to see what she was wanting me to say, or because I couldn't see what she was talking about. And so after that happened, she contacted my mom and told her that, yeah, I think your son needs glasses. And I've worn glasses ever since then. So it runs in my family. Everyone in my family wears glasses. So it wasn't odd that I had to wear it. It was just, I wish I didn't have to because glasses suck. I did get bullied or teased some in first grade. Which the bullying comes later, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. Yeah, the teacher I had for first grade loved her. She liked me. I don't think I really got into trouble much. I remember, a girl and I, one time, we got in trouble for talking, but that was about the serious thing that I can remember getting in trouble for back in first grade. I think all in all, first grade was a pretty good year. I think we had a good homeroom, and I want to say when I first started kindergarten, my elementary school was kindergarten through fifth grade. I know that's typical for elementary school, but in first grade, the fifth graders actually moved into the new middle school. So for our school district or for our county, it went kindergarten was kindergarten through fourth grade, or that would be for elementary school. Middle school was for fifth and sixth grade, or fifth to eighth grade, and then high school would be ninth grade to 12th grade. That's usually how our system was. Everyone's different. Some might differ. They might add or drop a year off there. But that's just how our thing went. And it's been like that ever since. It has not changed since first grade. Since 2008, 9, maybe 10. Maybe they moved in second grade. I don't know. I was in elementary school when they did it, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So I so then second grade rolls around. And to me, second grade was my favorite year at elementary school. I had a really awesome teacher teacher. She was an outstanding teacher. Loved her to death. She made learning fun, and she would do fun things for our class. We had movie days. I don't know if you had this, but for our school we had sections, or what did we call it? Stations. Yeah, I think they called it stations. She made it one time where a station was a campsite, and she put a tent up in the room, and kids, when it got to that station, could go in there, and we could actually be in a tent. It was really cool. We liked it. Yeah, and we had computers in the classroom as well. Well, technically all of the classrooms had a computer in it, so never mind. Second grade wasn't that special, but yeah. Oh, let me tell you, elementary school games are top tier. I don't care what anyone says. Cool Math will forever be that website. If you don't know Cool Math, oh, I'm so sorry. But this millennials and Gen Z, they'll know exactly what Cool Math is. For those that don't know, it was a website that was essentially a math website to where you learned math, but it was also a gaming side, and that's usually what most of us used it for, was for games. There was all kinds of games on there. It was action games. It had some puzzle type games on there, logic thinking, action packed, interactive games. It was really fun. I played it for years, I think, until they shut down, which they might still be in operation. I don't quite know. Last time I heard, they were shutting down, and then about a few years ago I looked and it was still available. So I don't know. It might still be up and active for all I know. But yeah, second grade was really, really fun. I'm trying to think of like some other stuff that might have happened. I remembered some field trips that we did. I think, well, I'm gonna try to keep it section. Let me get through all the grades and then we'll go back. So third grade rolls around. When I moved to third grade, we had I don't know if she was considered a new teacher, or maybe she was, and I just don't remember her being there that long. But for third grade, we had a black lady, which, come to think of it, I think she was, and now I may be wrong, but I think she was the only black teacher I ever had, or only different race that I can think of in school. Everyone I went to school, like, all of our teachers were white. I've never noticed that until now. So she was the only non-white teacher that we had. I'm just now looking. We had like other teachers that were different races, but I always got white teachers for some reason. I don't know why. That's just how it always ended up being. But anyway, so we had her for third grade, and she loved me. She was my favorite. I think one of my favorite students. She was very, very sweet. She kind of had a more strict side, because I remember during my third grade year, we had a lot of weather events happen. Like, we had snowstorms, and we had tornadoes, and very bad storms where we'd have to get out of school early. We had to not go to school at all. So we had to make school up on weekends, which totally optional, but I actually went to school every day for my third grade year. I didn't miss a single day of school, and I wanted to get that perfect attendance award. So I even went to school on weekends because I didn't want to lose my award. I know, call me crazy, but that was the only time I ever did it. After that, I never got that award again. I got like outstanding attendance, but I never did get perfect attendance ever again. So that time it was a one and done. But yeah, we went to school on Saturdays, and we would go there, and in third grade, all the other third grade classes would do fun stuff that day. We would only do math problems all day. So it wasn't fair in that regard, where all the other classes are not having to do work, but yet ours is. So it was kind of an unfair thing to do, but it was okay. Everyone in my homeroom, though, like, argued with one another on Saturday, so it was kind of dreadful, but we made it through it, and we got through it okay. She sadly passed away the following year. When I was in fourth grade, she passed away, and it was kind of a shock and surprise. I don't really ever know what happened to her. I think she might have just had like a heart attack or a stroke randomly. But yeah, she was the only teacher that I know that's not with us anymore. I think all my other teachers are still living. So when fourth grade moved around, I got put into a homeroom with a teacher that was the mom of another student that was in our grade. And when we went there, it was kind of a weird situation. Halfway through summer, we had a teacher come in, and she was actually a teacher that went to my church. She went to church with me, and she was just starting out teaching there. And so she decided to start teaching fourth grade. Well, that is kind of handpicked a few students out of each grade, and then they would put her in this random classroom. And luckily, I was one of the few that got picked to go outside of or leave her classroom. So I got drawn out of this class and then went into in this classroom, which it ended up being a good thing though from what I heard, someone in that classroom actually made her mad to where they had to do some kind of punishment assignment, kind of. So I was actually happy to get out of there. So fourth grade, I was picked to be in this this classroom. She was a good teacher as well. It was so weird and difficult at first because we did go to church together. She went to my church ever since I was little, and it was so hard to try and not call her by her first name in class. There were times where there were accidents where I did say her first name and she said, it's okay. I know it's a change. And then once you got into that mindset of calling her by her teacher name by saying Miss, I would do it at church as well. I'd be like, hi, Miss. And then it didn't stop until about a year later. It took like a year after I got out of her class to stop calling her that because it was just muscle memory. And then one of my friends that went to my church as well, she was I think she was like a year or two behind me in school. So then when she got into her class, she said, I'm doing the same thing you did. And I said, it's hard. And I said, have you called her by her first name at church or at school? And she has said, yeah. And like I did too. And so it was funny, but she was a good teacher. We had some good times in there. I'm trying to think of anything happened during kindergarten through fourth grade. Overall, elementary school wasn't as bad. I had pretty good teachers all the way through. Didn't really have any bad ones, which was good. I'm trying to think of field trips that we went on. One field trip or two field trips I remember in particular. One's embarrassing towards me, and another one was just a very bad field trip. Do I do the embarrassing one or do I do the awful one? We'll do the awful one first, and we'll say the embarrassment one last. In third grade, we went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we went to a Junie B. Jones play. Now, if you don't know what that is, Junie B. Jones was a children's series that came out that was real popular in the 2000s. I don't know if they're still making books about that now. I haven't not heard anything, but it's a kid series, focuses on a girl. Well, somewhere in Chattanooga, they were doing a play based on the series. The only thing I can remember to tell you guys about this was beeswax. For some reason, that phrase has just stuck with me. That's the only thing I remember from that play. I couldn't tell you a character name. I couldn't tell you a plot. I couldn't tell you where it happened. I remember on the way there, someone on our bus got sick, so we did have to pull over and have to get a doggy bag. But yeah, that was about all I remember from that trip. And then another trip happened in kindergarten, I would say, and this is embarrassing to me. Usually throughout elementary school, every year we went to a corn patch. Well, not a corn patch. What was it? Farm Day. Farm City Day. Most people might not even know what the hell that is. Farm City Day was something that our county did where all schools in the county would come and do multiple activities. There was this maze that was made out of hay. I don't think it was a cornfield maze. I think it was a bale of hay maze. Well, anyways, as I'm going through the maze, I had to pee really, really bad. And so, I can't believe I'm admitting this on the internet. I crawled up a stack of a few bales of hay, and I didn't pull my pants down, but I got up there and was looking and then just peed. I wish I was making that up. I for real peed my pants on a bale of hay. I think my mom witnessed that as well, and so I immediately got into trouble, and she took me. Hold on, I think my nose is about to bleed. 1 second. All right, my nose actually didn't bleed, but I did have to get more tea, so I'm not mad that I had to get up. All right, so anyways, what had happened was after my mom had caught me, she didn't want to make a big scene or a big, huge ordeal. I don't think anyone knew I did pee on myself, because it didn't actually drip down, but my mom exactly knew what I was doing. So she checked me out, and yeah, the car ride home was not fun, but those are about the only two memorable field trips that I can recall from elementary school. And now we enter middle school. And middle school from 5th grade to 8th grade was nothing but pure hell. My middle school treated their school as a prison. The only thing that we were missing were the orange jumpsuits. If we had the orange clothes on and maybe some chains, you couldn't even tell the difference. Some people, if they saw it, they would, if people were in actual jail, they could look at our thing and be like, yeah, we have it way easier than you do. That's how bad it was. And 5th grade was the start of when we had to rotate classes. So, elementary school didn't. I think they do it now. I think once they get to 2nd or 3rd grade, they start to rotate around to each class now. But when I went through, it was, you had the same teacher all day. That was whoever your homeroom teacher was your actual teacher for the whole time you went to school. You didn't have to change classes or go to another classroom unless it was a last minute emergency and they couldn't find a sub, so they would sometimes split us up to go to different classrooms, but that didn't happen often. But when 5th grade rolled around, we did that, and then we got introduced to lockers as well, so it was a whole new ball game. We went to and it was a new middle school too, so by the time I got out there, it was probably 3 or 4 years old, or it had been open for that long. It wasn't like a middle school that was open for like 30 years. The old middle school that they actually had was getting so old and run down that they actually had to shut the school down. And I thought they were going to tear it, but it has stayed there. It's essentially just become a rotten building. There's probably some people living in there, maybe some homeless folks that have seek refuge in there, and then some rats and spiders, bugs, snakes probably are in there. So I don't think they want to tear it down because they probably don't want to even touch the building. I do not blame them. But when 5th grade started, we started doing the rotation, and so we had to have a math, history, English, science, and reading teacher. The math teacher that we had for 5th grade was fine. She liked me. Some students didn't like her, and it was more of an attitude problem. And some of the remarks that she made, were very, very sarcastic. They came off a little snooty. Like, I remember one of her catchphrases was "too bad, so sad," or something like similar to that. Yeah. She was fine. Our history teacher was actually, to tell you the truth, I don't remember learning a single thing from that class. I don't remember anything being taught in there. Now that I'm thinking of it, I can't think of anything. Our science teacher, though, was fun from what I can remember. I remember we did something with diapers, like baby diapers. We did an experiment of which diaper holds the most, I think. I couldn't tell you which one we ultimately decided on because that was a long, long time ago. We did a thing in there called popcorn reading where, and if you don't know what that is, we would have, our classroom was split in two. So she would have it to where there was a group of desks on one side of the room, and then down the middle was kind of a walkway to where the teacher could walk, and it was a little open space, and then on the other side of that was her desk and then another set of like 2 rows. So one person on each side would go sit in the middle, up at the front in the middle between the 2 rows, and they would pick someone on the opposite side of each side of the room to read. So you had to be paying attention. And I remember one time there was a kid that transferred, I think, once we got to high school. But I remember he said something that was so funny, or this is the way he said it was funny. We were talking about, I think, water usage and water limits of water, and I remember he was like, "You should use water wisely." Oh, I can't do it anymore. Wait, okay, hold on, I gotta prep. He was like, you should use water wisely. Oh, I can't do the voice anymore. I can't do it as steady without my voice shaking. But he said wisely, very funny. He was like, wisely. And I was like, I was trying so hard not to laugh. And I think other students noticed that he said it funny, and we were just, We started busting out laughing. I think in our heads, some students kind of laughed a little bit out loud, and we did that, and then I think we learned about the evaporation system, which was like the life water cycle. Why did I say the water? It's the water cycle, not the evaporation system. That might go in the books as one of the dumbest things I've said. The water cycle. We learned a song. It was a black guy that made it in kind of a rap, and he danced to it, and then he really hit the run off part really well. He was like, run off, and I was like, I thought, are you stripping on a pole? That's literally the move he was making, and I was like, what are we watching? It was funny. We also watched Bill Nye. We also watched Magic School Bus. Oh my lord, Magic School Bus was never old. It was always a good day when we watched that or Bill Nye. Those are the only two things in science class. If you don't remember anything else, you remember watching that. I really hope teachers still use that now, because oh my god, these kids now need to relive childhood again. They need to know what it was like before all this madness happened. That this was something that kids expected every day on TV, and this is what happens on TV. Oh, those were the days. I miss Magic School Bus. That was a good theme song, and Bill Nye was a good. We always did the theme song out loud. It was so funny. But yeah, she was a good teacher. We had a lot of good memories in there. And then our reading teacher was really, really sweet. She was such a loving teacher. I mean, will do anything for her kids to succeed. That's how good of a teacher she is. But I think about halfway through the year, she actually had to leave for, I think, a personal thing that happened in her family. She had to go do something behind the scenes with that. So our history teacher filled in for her spot. And so our history teacher ended up teaching our reading class for a while before. And then a sub filled in for the history teacher. I can picture the person that did the history class, but I cannot remember her name. Lord, and I don't ever know what happened to her. I feel like she was our sub in 5th grade, and that was like, I don't remember her teaching us anymore. I about choked on my tea. I swear, I choke on tea every video, or every episode. I choke on some droplet of something. Anyways, so we went, and she was fine as a reading teacher, but our original one was way better. She was nice. Our English teacher was she was, I think, the only teacher I didn't personally like. I remember in my classmate episode, I talked about a girl that I called a jerk one time on social media, and it happened in 5th grade, and I just remember our teacher for the English class commented on it and said, I'm so disappointed in y'all. I thought, why are you getting into our business? I thought you're in our business enough in class. I think we would appreciate if you did not have to bother us outside of class. It was like getting in trouble outside of class. And I thought, ma'am, stay in your lane. Stay to teaching us in the classroom, not online. Just stop. So she had a temper problem, and she could be nice, but she could also be hateful. So she was not a good teacher. And then her homeroom was so bad. Also in the classmate episode I talked about, I got very much bullied 5th grade. A student made me get bullied so much that I had to, instead of moving them out of the class and keeping me in the class that I liked, they decided to move me out of the class, and they put me in another classroom, which ended up being the English teacher's homeroom. Her class was so awful. Oh my god, that class did not know how to behave. So that was fun. I can't remember how long I stayed in there. I think it was 2 months maybe. It was that class was awful. They got in trouble for everything, which was so unfair too. It was awful. But anyways, overall the teachers weren't bad. I can't remember of any field trips that were memorable during that year. So we might have went and saw a movie. But we did, and we also did some fun activities too, especially around Christmas time and end of the school year. We did some fun stuff. Oh, and I did PE as well. We did PE for one block or one period, and our thing was 7 periods. It was the math, history, science, English, reading, and then we did a PE class, and then we had like a period, which essentially was a study period, but in 5th grade they made it a reading period to where they read us a book for some reason. I don't know why they just couldn't let us have like one free period as a well, I know why. Prison. It was a jail. Uh yeah, 5th grade overall was fine. Nothing too extravagant or crazy. So then we moved to 6th grade, and 6th grade was, I think, about the same as 5th grade. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Our math teacher was very good. She was one of the best math teachers I ever had. She was very nice and would actually taught you how to do it and made sense. I've had teachers in the past teach something and they make no sense at all, and you look at them and you go, huh, what? She made it to where it was so easy to understand and it was so easy to follow. She's one of the best, and she will forever be one of the best. Our history teacher was kind of an ass. Yeah. He had like 100 things of notes, and you had to write fast too. Well, of course, I don't write fast. So me trying to write fast was a sight to see. And we had like 100 notes. Anywhere between, it was always over 50. If it was less than 20, we'd be like, are you okay? Are you sick? He ended up getting like knee surgery, and so he was out a good bit, but then the sub that he filled in was no better, so he was a bitch. I'm just gonna be honest. But yeah, I don't quite have a good opinion about him. It was hard, but I personally didn't like him. Our reading teacher during that year, who was it? Oh yeah, she was fine. I mean, she wasn't bad. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really I have to say. She was okay. Not the worst, but not the best. Meh, meh, average. Our English teacher was pretty good. She was the only teacher that really tried to make us learn cursive. Other teachers just gave up or just didn't have the patience or urge to do it. But she was the only one that taught us cursive, and which I can't write cursive at all. It's awful. But I liked her. She was pretty good. I really did like her. Trying to think who was our science teacher. Oh, okay, here's the thing with my science teacher. My science teacher, oh, hold on 1 second. Oh, okay. All right, we had a little bit of a technical problem, but I got it figured out. First, my microphone decided to turn off unexpectedly. I said like a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't even realize it. And then when I was going back to record it, it started doing this weird where it was just playing over where I had just recorded, and I thought, why are you doing that? But I got it all figured out, and so we are Gucci now. That was my mom just called me, and we talked for about 15 minutes. So anyway, a lot's happened in the last 20 minutes of me recording this. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I think we got to about 6th grade and our science teacher. The science teacher particularly liked me, but she wasn't she was a nice person, but she just couldn't teach. She was one of those nice people, not a good teacher. She really loved me. I always sat with her at lunch because we always had lunch with her, and so that was fun. Yeah, that was always she always liked having lunch with me, but she was an okay teacher. Okay, there is a wild story that I can tell you, and I want you to. This is so bad. Okay, so for a field trip that we did 6th grade year, we went to get ready, a Charlie Brown play. Oh, and it was a musical too. Let's add the music in there. It was the worst thing that I think I've ever been to. It was the worst field trip we ever did. Half of our class fell asleep during it. The parents that ended up going on the field trip just started playing on their phones. They were getting on their phones, and then they were just allowing their kids to play on their phone because it was so bad. And then, when I tell you it was awful, it was awful. I think the teachers even didn't like it as well. So if anything else, if the teachers didn't like it, then it was a bad bad field trip. Yeah, we went to that, and it was a bunch of little kids, and then here's kids that are 4, 5, 6 years old, and then here's 11, 12 year olds at a play. So it was so awkward. Yeah, it was an experience to say the least, and we'll just keep it at that. That was such a awkward field trip. Overall, sixth grade was another fine class, school year. Nothing really major happened. I did pretty well in school. Teachers were okay. Overall, it was a decent year. Seventh grade rolled around, and it's same. It was just the same pattern. My math teacher was good. I loved her a lot. I actually was able to take her again later in high school and was just equally as awesome. Our reading teacher wasn't too good. I didn't really like her at all. Our history teacher was fine. He was so laid back, but let me tell you, I don't ever know what happened to him, but he was like a heartthrob to all the girls there. He was jacked up. He had like a muscle, big arms. He had a big chest. I mean, it was a huge heartthrob. I'm surprised he didn't sleep any of the students. I'm kind of surprised because some girls in our class probably would have got on him first. Yeah. So that was interesting. Our English teacher she wasn't too good either. I don't really remember learning anything that year. Can't really tell you anything. And then our science teacher was really good. But one thing that really made me mad about that year was we were doing some kind of experiment, I think. We were doing some kind of assignment, and the teacher had asked me to go run her an errand. You know how teachers usually say, oh, hey, take this to the office or take this to a teacher. And so I was doing that, and as she was saying, but I was doing all of the errands that she wanted me to do. And so the next day when it came to us showing how far along we were, she looked at my paper, or she pulled up my piece of paper, and she was like, who did this? Like, what is this? And I thought, well, that's mine. Of course, the whole class could see what it was. And I think I told her out loud, I said, well, while I was doing your errands yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to get a lot of the work done. I actually kind of snapped back at her, and I didn't get in trouble for stalking back either, so was able to do that. So, but yeah, she was an overall good teacher though. She was funny. It was just that one little hiccup. I remember I started laughing in class, and we were supposed to be quiet, and immediately when she said my name, I went so stone face. It was like I went quiet so fast. I can't really fully remember. I wasn't on the math and science club that year. Oh, and I was also in youth leadership that year. I was on youth leadership, and then I was in the math and science club that year. We also went to the lake for an award trip. That was such a fun trip. Oh, we went to the lake, and it was so fun. I got majorly sunburned on that trip. It was the first time I had gotten severe sunburn. I was dying, and the aftermath wasn't fun. But I remember we went to a play, and the play was held in our school gym. When I tell you this was the most dysfunctional play, this is what happened. And I couldn't honestly tell you what the play was. I think it was a Halloween themed play, or it was just some kind of performance that some students from, because it wasn't that far from our middle school. It was probably 35 minutes, maybe less than that. But it was about a 30-minute drive. And so these kids came and performed some kind of Halloween thing. And one of it was a girl, was dead. She obviously was supposed to be playing dead. And she was swinging her head back and forth. She was literally singing with her head going back and forth and was wobbling on the floor. And literally everyone in the stands in our class was like, she's dead. Why is she singing? She is supposed to be playing dead. I mean, she was airhead. I mean, I thought, bitch, you are supposed to be dead. Why are you swaying back and forth singing? I mean, and the other person that was pretending to be dead actually was doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I don't know what was going on in Bubble Land in her head. But we were just like, she's dead. Why is she singing? Why is she swaying back and forth? So that was always fun to do. And then we also had to do statewide testing. I don't know if most states do it. I don't know if our school or state does it still, but we had to do something called the ARMP test, or it was mostly math, English, and science questions, and it was over a span of 2 or 3 days, sometimes more than that sometimes. And it was basically 2 or 3 hours of testing and then not doing anything the rest of the day. That was all that was. It was always at the end of the school year as well. We did that a lot. Oh, and we also had to do oh my lord, what is the name of that program? I'm forgetting. Star reading, star math. I hated doing that so much. We had to do it every year, I think, until high school. And we might have even done it in high school too, if I'm recalling. Maybe in maybe 8th grade was the last year we did it, but I think we did it in 9th grade. No, we did it in 11th grade too, I remember. Okay. So we did like star reading until high school, and that was dreadful to do every year. I hated doing it, and the state testing too was dreadful beyond demand, because you can't do anything. We couldn't put on our phone after we got done, which we weren't even supposed to have phones to begin with. But we kind of just got to that point where, we were 12, 13. I didn't technically get my first cell phone, like smartphone, until I was in 7th grade. I think my first phone was a 6 Plus, iPhone 6 Plus, I think was my first smartphone. But yeah, we went we went in there and did it. And I remember for 7th grade, we had a student get a real bad sneeze attack during the test. And, it's a very professional test. You're supposed to be very professional and not laugh. He kept sneezing so loud, and it happened more than 3 or 4 times. And even the teacher started laughing too, and we were just like, bro, can you quit? And I was trying to hold it together, because I'm one that will just laugh at anything if it's funny. I'll laugh at anything that is usually not funny to anyone else. That's usually what I do. So I was trying so hard to be I was trying to be very, very professional and was trying not to laugh, but that just wasn't going to happen. So we did that, but overall 7th grade wasn't bad. I think it was my favorite year, to be honest. Out of the whole years, wasn't too bad. 8th grade though is a complete opposite. In my mental health episode, where I talk about my mental health struggle, I do talk about this is the year that I developed and first diagnosed with it, but I didn't talk about the school side. School side was it wasn't the best years for school, mostly because every teacher we had was trash except one teacher. Our science teacher was okay, but she had such a nasty attitude. I had a few run-ins with her, even on the first day. Like, our school did teacher meetup, where you went and you paid money to get your locker, and you would just meet your teachers. My mom and I met our science teacher, and she didn't really pay us any attention. She didn't say hello or anything. She just looked at us and just looked at what she was doing. And I thought, oh, stick up your ass. That's what you're giving? Okay. So she was giving off that kind of attitude. So I knew that me and her were just going to be BFFs. Our math teacher was a nice person, could not teach math to save her life. I don't know what school she went to. I don't know how she got a degree, but I genuinely do not know what she was doing. There was one time that we were taking a test, and we were all raising our hand asking her a question, and she got so pissed off and mad at us because we kept raising our hands. And this kid that was sitting next to me, he didn't say it out loud, but he just said it to himself, and he said, well, if you were a better teacher, we wouldn't be raising our hand. And I thought, 100% agree with that. 100% agree. He wasn't wrong. I mean, I kind of wish he would have said it out loud just to get the room going with some drama and some fights going on, but he spoke the truth. She was an awful teacher. Could not teach worth of shit. And then our English teacher, I don't know what we learned in that class. If you told me what was one thing you learned in there, I would be thinking here for the rest of my life. He was really upbeat. He had a very feminine walk, and we all thought he was gay, but he actually had a wife and kids, and we are like, oh. Yes, we were that kid. We were that group of kids that judged. Don't sit there and act like you've never judged somebody and already classified them as something. You have. Everyone's done it. But I think he liked me for some reason. Yeah, I don't know if he still teaches there. Anyways, oh, also, I don't know if any of these teachers that I've already mentioned or the grades, if they still are teaching or if they moved to a different school, if they retired, if they've moved on, done something else. I don't know. I haven't really caught up with them. I think some of them are still teaching, but I don't know. Like if it's a new grade, a new subject, a new school. I don't know. Yeah, but he was all right. He was a little odd. And then our reading teacher was kind of off, if you know what I mean. She was strict as well. She could yell like no other. Oh my god, could scream so loud that you would have to wear earmuffs, headphones, something to cover your ear. And I remember for the free period we had, she did like a crochet class. And a lot of people signed up for it, and I was actually one of the very few lucky ones that was able to get in. And she wasn't like a good teacher in there either. She was one way. And I remember we made a pillow. The first things that we did in there was make a pillow. And she got mad at me because I didn't fill up my pillow with enough stuffing. And this wasn't going to be a pillow I was going to use to sleep on. I don't even think it was going to be used as a back propper. It was just something that we did in class. And she got so pissed off that my thing was so flat. And I thought, it's not your pillow, it's mine. I thought, why does it matter to you if it's not full? She was one of those teachers where if you ripped a string out of your shirt, she probably would have killed over it. And that's not and that's not even exaggerating. Because I think someone like pulled their string out of their shirt and she about died. Yeah, and then we did sewing in there. I was an awful sewer. I couldn't sew worth the crap. And then her mom, oh my lord, her mom had to be like 90 years old, would come, and I could see the attitude. I thought, well, you're just like your mom. I didn't like her. Everyone liked her. I didn't like her. There was just something about her I didn't like. But every time she came into class, would hug her, and I'm just like, y'all are too much. Too much. I didn't hug her one time. Everyone lightened the room when she came in. Every time she came in, I was like, ugh. Everyone kept getting to crochet fast because they were doing it right. She had something against me. Every time I made like the simplest mistake, instead of just fixing it to where I could just continue, she would cut from the beginning of the round that I was on and she would pull the stitches out. I thought I would want to take this needle and shove it in your eyeball. There were so many times where I just wanted to take my little pen needle and just right her in her eyeball and it's gonna be like right there. And I'd be like, oh, wait, I hate it. I hated her so much. Oh my god, it drove me insane. But yeah, she was not a good teacher either. She was, every time she was grading, if anyone made a bad grade, she was like, and I thought, shut up. I thought, well, if that's a sign, it shows that you're not a good teacher. So I mean, you're getting mad at yourself because you're not doing a good job. So yeah, all my teachers this year were really crap, but oh, my history teacher was so good. She was so nice. I think it was her first year or second year there. She was like in her 20s. I think had just graduated from college. She was an absolute sweetheart. She understood us. And I think that's why I prefer a lot of young teachers, is that they get us. They understand what we like and don't like. All these old teachers that are in their 40s and 50s, 60s and up, they lived back in the 80s and 90s and 70s where it was hard school. I thought this is where it was like the 20th century. I'm like, this is the 21st century now. Things have changed. You can't teach a 1980s style program in 2015 at this time, and it's the same thing now. There is a way that you teach. You have to try to teach the 2025 way. You can't continue being a 1980, 1950 you have to evolve what you're teaching. If you stick to the same teaching thing every time, it's not going to work. You have to change, and you have to make it to where your students are going to understand what you're saying. So that means you might have to teach your style a little bit to where we like it and can understand it. So then that way, whenever you're grading, you don't go every time and get pissed off at us because we don't know what we're doing because you are stuck to one way of teaching. But yeah, our history teacher was really, really good. She was one of the best teachers I've had. And well, she was the only teacher from that grade that year I liked. So she was really good. But 8th grade to me was my least favorite year. And oh Lord, we had the worst principal that time. We had the worst principal. She was an awful principal. Or was she vice principal? Well, no, I think she was principal. Oh my God, she was so bad. So bad. And I think the thing is, I think everyone hated her too. I think her own son hated her as well. Or was just embarrassed by her, and I can see why. Because I don't know if this is still prominent in schools, but we always said the Pledge of Allegiance. We've always said it once I started kindergarten till I think we even did it all the way through high school, which I can't fully remember if we did. But elementary, middle school, every day. Most people, this is how they do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to this. Oh, I about fucked it up. I about messed that up. Okay, hold on. So, most of it would have been I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and you would say it in a constant tone. This is how my principal during 8th grade would do the pledge, and this happened every morning. It was the same style. So this is how she did it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible. And we're not, ma'am. She would start so slow. She would say half of it so slow and then would speed through the rest of it. I thought, are you stuck on time? Do you not know rhythm? I thought, I know you're old, but maybe teach and do it the same way. I'm surprised people that have like an OCD thing, which they probably did. Hell, if I had OCD, I would not like the. But she was consistent, but it was more of a slow at first and then the speed up. There were times where some students in our class just didn't say it or they gave up. And I think she ended up getting fired or something because I think the teachers didn't like her either. And I mean, fair reason. Mrs. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I thought, but yeah, and I remember we went on one field trip in 8th grade. We went to a civil rights museum in Birmingham. We went there, and we actually did a very good, our class, as I said in my classmate episode, we were a really bad class. We hated each other. We hated one another. We fought all the time. We just didn't get along. Luckily, and this was just from my eyes, I thought everyone did well on that trip. I thought every student behaved. All the students that usually act up didn't get in trouble. No one broke anything. We didn't tear the place up. We didn't cause any distractions or anything. I thought we, as a whole class, in which I was kind of surprised, did very well. We get back. And I think a day or two later, we're on the bus, and our principal comes up, and she said, y'all were so awful on that trip to the Civil Rights Museum. And I think everyone on the bus looked at each other like, is she talking to us? Or is there like a spirit in the room? I thought, do you need to go in the home? I thought, the nursing home's calling, honey. And she was full on talking to us, and I thought, are you off your meds today? She just degraded us, said that that was the worst class, or she felt so embarrassed. And I thought the only thing that's embarrassing is that your son don't like you. So if you think if you think that's embarrassing, look in the mirror, sweetie. But yeah, I will say this. Fuck what she said. Screw what she said. I think we, as a class that year, did very well. And she can kiss it. What she probably couldn't kiss it. She probably couldn't bend down that far. But, anyways. But middle school, in summary, was hell on earth. Now we move into high school. This is where I bloom. Meaning that I said fuck for the very first time. And I kind of started getting a little bit of shadiness and snap in me, which it kind of didn't really blossom till college, but it was it was blossoming. Ninth grade rolled around and we dropped from 7 periods to 4, and then it was 4 1 semester, 4 classes, and then 4 new classes the second semester. Oh lord. Now this gets so confusing of like, how do I approach? I would say, let's see, what did I take first semester in school? Wait, I'm trying to like sit here and remember. Hold on. I think it only would be it to me would make sense if I tell you like what the class was, because that would make it more easy to understand and better. So for fall semester of ninth grade year or freshman year, I took first block was oh crap, what was it? Oh, it was at a tech school. We went to a tech school and we took a computer class. She was really good. She had such a bubbly personality. She really cared about teaching. She really liked about teaching. I mean, was a total sweetheart. And I think sweetie, my god, I'm turning 90 years old by the day with my terms. No, well, a dog outside's having an argument with something. But anyways, I had her multiple times and I had her I think again. So she'll be coming back here soon. And then second period we did algebra. And the math teacher I had for algebra was really nice. A little odd, but that kind of just that's kind of how she was and who she was. I remember she had like a meltdown episode in class one day, and we were like, do we need to go get a teacher? Do we need to call a nurse? And then third period we did, what was it, home ec? I think that's what it was called, home ec. I liked the teacher. I had her basically every year of high school, except my last year. Or well, maybe I only had her for 2. Well, tell you my brain. We'll get there. Don't jump ahead. So I had her for home ec, and that was a fun class. That was a fun class. She was goofy, and that's what made her class so great. And that's what sometimes the teacher's personality is what made the class, and that's her goofiness kind of made the class. She was real nice. And then let's see. I'm trying to see. Fourth block, I think I took reading, and our reading teacher wasn't the best. Honestly, she was kind of hateful. Yeah, I didn't really like her. Yeah, she wasn't too nice, but she was average. And then when second semester rolled around, for first block I had biology, I think it was, with the my homeroom teacher, and she was nice. Her class was really hard for some reason. She was one of those teachers where her test was nowhere near what she taught in class. And if you've ever had a teacher that's like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They could talk about the 2 times tables, and then on the test it's all 10 times tables. You know, that kind of teacher. Um, she literally was, yeah, she was not a good teacher in that sense, but she was nice, and the class was fun. So that's all that mattered. And then second block, I took PE. Basically just showed up. That's basically how PE went in high school. I showed up. And then third block, I did history with a guy that really didn't do anything. His wife his wife. I was on the right term. Yeah, I was on the right track. His wife was our librarian at the time before both of them moved. And so, his wife and him were total opposites, which, I guess at our school, that was a common love theme. One person's one personality, another, and then the other one's the opposite of that. So, a lot of opposites attract teacher couples were in that went to our school. Yeah, that was a common occurrence. She was hateful most of the time, and he was like, basically just don't kill each other and we'll be good. Or don't kill me and we'll be fine. So we didn't really have like a bad thing about it. He was chill. His class was really easy. And then I gotta take a breather. My fourth block, I had to take ag, which come to find out, agriculture was not even, they lied to us and said that ag was mandatory. But then once we got into class, it wasn't mandatory. So I suffered for an hour and a half for 4 months. Last block of the day, suffered because she was an awful, hateful teacher. She was so stuck up. I remember we had to say something about we had to recite something that involved agriculture, like I believe all that not bullshit, like all that nonsense that I didn't give two shits about. I thought I don't care. And then she was babysitting two babies. That was the occurrence at our school. If couldn't get a babysitter, the baby came to class. So she had two toddlers in there that had to have been younger than 4, maybe younger than 5. And as I got up there and was trying to say and reiterate like this five paragraph that felt more like 100 pages worth of nonsense I didn't care about. As I was trying to recite it in front of the whole class, her two babies decide, oh, it's time to scream and yell and have a good time in the back. And so I lost concentration halfway through, and everyone kind of was like, oh my lord, he's stuck. And I think they knew exactly why I got lost, and it's because she couldn't control her kids. And so she actually ended up giving me a good grade because of her mistake. And I said, so I thought, that's right, bitch. Give me the good grade. And then everyone after class was like, that was her fault. And I said, for once, y'all have my back. For once, y'all are on my side. Yeah, she was definitely the worst teacher of 9th grade year. Hands down, no ifs, ands, ors, or buts. Shittiest teacher. Freshman year, though, was okay. I went through a phase. It was very much a phase. Listened to I listened to a lot of female music, which they called gay music, but I call it tasteful. I call it tasteful music, but my words just didn't want to come out there. Um, but yeah. I, I don't know. They were just mean about my music. I mean, which I listen to a lot of male singers too. I think I honestly listen to the female stuff just to egg them on. I think I just did it just because I was like, I want to test their patience a little bit. When sophomore year rolled around, I was in. What club was I in? I was in a club. What was the club name? It wasn't A's and B's because I didn't have all A's and B's because I had a C. For what was it? I have like my high school textbook here, or like high school yearbook, whatever the hell it is. Y'all know yearbook. I'm gonna lay it down here and see if I can flip through the clubs and see if I can find what I was trying to talk about because I can't think of what the club name was. I fully cannot remember what this club name was called. It had to have been like something with good grades or something, but I don't remember doing that well to be in a club. Because freshman year, I had a lot of stuff going on. My grandmother passed away halfway through freshman year. I was still dealing with my newly found depression. Halfway through the school year, I got diagnosed with the flu and almost died from the flu. And so freshman year was not like a star-studded, oh, I did well in school year. It wasn't. So how I was able to get into any kind of club was kind of shocking. But I'll try to find it while I talk. But Beta Club, that's what that was. Yes, 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 yes. Beta Club. Now I don't remember what were the requirements for Beta Club. I think you had to have like at least a certain average. I think. Lord, I don't remember. Um, I don't know. I always remember that the Beta Club meetings were like at 7 a.m. So I had to get up earlier than I did for classes to be there for a meeting. That was one thing I didn't particularly like. Oh yeah, and then they also did like the beta induction, which I never did go to those because I was at that time where I was still nervous out of my mind and I didn't want I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of a lot of professional people, so I just kept to myself. As my eyes going, I can barely see anyone in this picture. Trying to see if I was in this picture because I think I went to most of the meetings. I can't really see. I'm blind. I think I got in. I got inducted sophomore year. Yeah, because I remember I have like the hairstyle I have now. It was like the 2013 Miley Cyrus cut, the buzz cut. That's what I had, and so my hair all went to one side, and I was shaved on the other. That was the hairstyle I chose back then, which looked fine. Yeah, but yeah, it was Beta Club. I might have been in Beta Club too in middle school. I think I was, but I can't fully remember. I don't even know really what you did at the Beta induction. I think it was mostly you spent the night somewhere in a hotel and you had to present. And I was like, I don't want to present. So I always just stayed at, well, I could have just got out of class and gone to have fun. I was shy and just kept to myself. But it all ended up okay. So for sophomore year, first block of the day for sophomore year, junior, or for first block fall semester, sophomore year. What did I do? What did I do? I swear, something's happening out in the parking lot. I don't want to get up and go look. I just heard a car honking. Well, was it? Oh my god, I can't remember what class it was. Oh my god, I didn't. Was it? No, it wasn't PE. Was it? Was it? Oh my god. Oh, but I do remember in like freshman year, I skipped this class. We had to take like a health class slash PE class. So we did that. So we did. What did I do sophomore year for first period? Oh my god, I can't remember. It had to have been something in between. It had to have been a core class because second block I went back to the tech school and did a class there. Third block I did geometry with the most sorry teacher. Yeah, I did geometry, third block, and then fourth block, I did like an elective class where I learned Spanish as like the course, which I didn't learn shit from. What did I do first block of that year? It wasn't science, was it? I now I'm wondering, will a teacher jog a memory because I've gone blank. Who the hell did I have for first block? My god, this is driving me up the wall. This is driving me up the wall. Let me do a research thing. History. Saw teacher. Yeah, we took like history, and it was the basic history. Like it was Civil War, World War I, World War II, Indians. You know the stuff that we basically the only history that they know. Yeah. Oh, I remember because I got contacts during that year, and every time I was in that class, my contacts always wanted to act up. Yeah. God, that took me a second. So yeah, history, and then went to the tech school, then did geometry, and then did some kind of class. That was. I thought it was just gonna be a goof off class, but we actually had to do work because someone lied to me about it. Typical. But yeah, our geometry teacher was trash. The history teacher was nice, and she was a good history teacher, so I liked her. And then when second semester rolled around for spring semester of sophomore year, what was I doing? I think I did PE for first block. Yeah, I did PE, and then I did English. English, and then I did home ec again with the same home ec teacher. And then the English teacher we had was okay. Kind of had an attitude, but was nice to me, towards me. And then for fourth block, we did chemistry with a teacher that was kind of goofy. Yeah. Yeah. So that was how that went. So sophomore year was pretty good. I was starting to get more into myself. My depression wasn't as bad. My grades started to come up a little bit. But junior year is my star. Was my time to shine. It was my time to shine. I made all A's during junior year, and it was the first time since fifth or sixth grade since I had gotten all A's. First block of I never forgot these classes, and now for some reason I can't remember. Was it science? It might have been science. I think we took a science class first block. Yeah. Again, that could totally be coming out my butt, but I think I took science that year. Yeah, I think I took science. So science was first block. And then did I go to the tech school there in that block? I feel like I did, but I don't remember what I was doing. No, what? Oh my god, what was I doing? Did I do PE again? I think I did PE again for second block. Yeah, I think I did PE for second block. And then third, I did history. No, reading. I did reading because our teacher was kind of a nut. Yeah, our teacher was a nut. Yeah, I remember. And then fourth grade, fourth block, I did. Okay, so I did co-op for fourth block, which insisted me just going home early. Yeah, we had to pretend that my mom and I pretended that we did like a cleaning service. We cleaned homes, when in reality I would just go home and watch TV. I left at 1 o'clock every day. It was great. Never did get caught though, so but yeah, that's what I did for co-op. I worked from home. I didn't get paid either. And then second block I did, or second term I did math first block, and then I did I do home ec again, or did I go to the tech school again? Because co-op was considered tech, but I can't fully remember if it was oh, okay. I had to have gotten history. No, yeah, I did take history. Okay, what class am I missing? I remember math was first. There's no way I did E again. I had to have done another, like, a elective there. Oh my god, what was I doing? Did I take home ec again? If I had to have. Because there's nothing else. To me, wait, okay. Or did I do PE again? Something tells me I did PE again, but I don't know if that's true. Oh my god, I've never had this much of a brain fart. Because I took junior year English. I think I've gotten all the core classes. Because we only had 4 core classes, and then we had to have, was it 1 elective? Or 2 electives? I remember each semester or each term it was 2. So it was 4 core classes, 2 electives. Okay. Or it was 4 core and 4 electives. Yeah, total. Yeah. What in the world did I do second block? I feel like I had PE. I know that's a stretch, but I feel like I did PE. Because I can't think of anything else that I did during that time. I didn't take another additional class. I didn't clean for somebody. Because after I did the math class, I'm trying to trace my step. And then I would walk from one class to history. Where did I come for history? Was I in the library? Oh, the handy dandy yearbook's about to come back out again. Because I can't remember who it was. Because I remember I was still in beta club and I helped run a blood drive. And I told them during second block, I said, yeah, I can do that because I didn't do anything. ACT prep. I think the thing that we did was, yes, okay. Takes me a minute, but we got there. I took ACT prep during second block because I was fixing to take the ACT. It was about to be my first time taking it, and I needed some help. And so we took ACT until I basically took it, and after I had taken it, I could go to PE. That's what we did. Okay. Now that makes sense. Okay. So then I did ACT prep. Then I went to history, which we had a student teacher teaching us, and she did a really crappy job. I remember one time we were doing class, and someone asked a question, and her answer was Google it. I thought, you're being a student teacher? I said, well, hell, if people are getting paid to just say Google it, I'm like, where's my paycheck? Where's my work? Because I could easily say that. I thought, hell, I could get paid to say Google it. That was her response, literally, Google it. And so, because our main teacher was studying for something, I don't know if she was studying how to sleep with the principal, because that's what she did. It was that like senior year she slept with or was it after we graduated? I think it was after we graduated. Our teacher became vice principal, and then she slept with the principal, and then they both got fired. So I don't know if that's where all of her studying was going into, how to do that and how to hide it. I don't know. But she was studying something. And then, of course, fourth block, I went home and did my cleaning work. So I did that. But junior year was my best year. Was my best year academically and mentally. I was not depressed at all during that year. Everyone, we all got along, didn't have any arguments or nothing. It was just perfect. And then senior year rolls around, and for the first two blocks of senior first semester of that year, I worked in the office. I was considered office aide. So for the first, I'd say probably first two blocks, I was office aide, and then third block, I went to a reading. It was literature reading, so it was old timey stuff like Shakespeare, medieval work, nothing too important. So that was that class, and our teacher was really nice. She liked me, and I think my mom was friends with her as well, so she knew me through my mom. um, and then I went to science now, okay, what was anatomy? That was an interesting class. I remember we had to dissect something. Was it an owl pellet? I feel like I've dissected 5,000 of them damn owl pellets. I think that's not the only thing teachers know what to dissect. Because I've dissected very few things. In middle school in 7th grade, we dissected a frog, I think. It was in 7th grade. We dissected a frog. And then I think we dissected something else. Was it an eyeball? I think it might have been an eyeball. And then that's basically all I remember is dissecting. And then high school, we only did the nail pellet and it was some kind of body part. I can't remember, but it was something that was really nasty. My partner actually started gagging more than I was gagging, so that was it. Yeah, it. I was full on gagging. Or she was doing it more, and I said, "Please do not puke." I said, "Please don't. If you do, please leave the room so I don't have to witness it." But the teacher was fine. He kind of could cause trouble and mischief with students. Yeah, because I had one run-in with him. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I was still making all A's, so how I was doing that, no clue. But yeah, and then second semester, first block we had, I don't even want to say it, government history with the most bullshit teacher. He acted like it was a college level class. And he was so hateful. I don't know how him and his wife are together because she really liked me, but yet I think he really disliked me. And I've had run-ins with him as well. Just talking about him's giving me a headache. But yeah, he was hateful. His class is actually the reason why I got anxiety, is due to the fact of how difficult it was. And so I hated his class and I hated him for that. So yeah, it was a bunch of political shit that I didn't really care about. It was like branches of government and all this, and I thought, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about I don't care about learning about this. I thought if I wanted to go work for the government, sure, but I'm a talk show host. I'm going into journalism. I don't need to know political shit unless I was a political journalist. And newsflash, wasn't. So yeah, his class was hard, and then we also had to recite something, but luckily it was on paper. But it was so difficult to learn. I can't even tell you what. I can't even remember what it was. The amount of stuff I've had to recite. I've had to say the preamble. I've had to say that stupid ag cult message, whatever that was, and then this stupid thing for history. I'm just like, yo, I don't need this for my life. I don't care. I don't care about it. And then I had to learn like our alma mater too for a class. And I think she wanted us to sing it, but I thought, can we just write the whole thing down? Because I could write it. I thought, I'm not getting up in front of class and singing the alma mater. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But yeah, that was my first block of the day, was that history class. So I always started off my day great. And then second block, I was supposed to work in the office, but then she didn't want me working in there again. I don't know. I guess I wasn't her favorite, but then I went to the library because I remember that she usually had people working in the library. And so for second block, I ended up or for second block, I went to the tech school and took a business finance class out there, which ended up being good because I met my best friend there. Me and her have been so inseparable since. So I'm not mad that I went there. And then um, I went to, and then for third block, I went to the library and I was a library aide. And then um, fourth block, it was either pre-cal or, no, it wasn't trig. Because the things I learned in school, and I have an eyelash in my eye. Oh Lord, this eyelash is gonna kill me. But I took algebra, geometry, algebra 2 with trig, and I can't remember. I think I took pre-cal. Because I think once I got to college, I took calculus, and that's the highest math I've taken. So I think ninth grade, or for senior year, I took pre-cal, and it was with the same teacher I had ninth grade year. So she taught. So I had her for algebra and for pre-cal. She was a good pre-cal teacher, so it wasn't difficult to follow along. But it was what it was. But I but yeah, senior year wasn't too bad. We were the pandemic grade, so of course we got out of school in March instead of May. So I actually had 6 months of summer break due to it. And then yeah, that was our graduation. We we did senior skits, which if people don't know what senior skits are, at one of the pep rallies that we did, the seniors from all the homerooms would perform a skit that their homeroom came up with. This was like late 2019, so TikTok was really starting to kick off and was getting real popular. And so we did some popular TikTok trends at the time. Somehow I got in with all the dances, which I can't dance with crap. So they had me doing the I can't remember what the songs, like what the song title were. I kind of remember the dance. They were easy. I said, "Give me okay. If I have to do a dance, give me something that's easy." I said, "I don't know. I don't want something complex." And then they did like the "This Is My Voice" one. They had me do that. A TikTok that I didn't understand was we had someone as Jesus, and all I had to say was, "Is it me, Jesus?" I don't know what the TikTok was. I was just that was one of those things of I was just told what to do, and I just did. So I don't know what that TikTok was. I don't know what it was. Um, yeah, I did that, and then I think what would have been really funny is it would have been me as like a talk show host and me showing the audience TikToks, and I think we could have someone that knew every one of them explain them to me. I think that would have been a cool idea. Have me as a talk show host and me like do because it would have been good practice for me too. Oh, that would have been a good idea. But I really liked how our skit turned out. It turned out really good. I really liked it. A lot of teachers and students liked it as well. I think a lot of our other homerooms liked it as well. So we had that because all the other homerooms did was something that past seniors had done and past grades had done. So ours had a little bit more of a originality in there and more of a thought process instead of a rehash and a duplicate of stuff that's happened in the past. Because senior skits usually one homeroom always made fun of the teachers and what their classic styles were and what their catchphrases were, and then it was just typical senior skits. But yeah, ours was really good. I liked it. And then we did our pyramid, and they initially wanted me on the bottom, and I said, "Hold on, y'all want me?" And at this time, I was about maybe 130, 140. You want a 140-pound person that has no upper or lower body strength, straw-like arms, and a bad back to hold up majority of the classmates. Is that what I'm hearing? And I said, I said, if y'all put me on bottom, that would just be a huge murder, a mass murder. Everyone here would be going to jail for murder. I said, I'm not going to be on the bottom. I don't have the strength for it, and y'all know that. And they said, okay. And I said, put me up closer to the top or be on the top. I said, I'm like the lightest person you'll have on your back. I was so light, people that were shorter than me could pick me up. So I said, unless you don't want to hold someone up heavy, have me on top. So I was the second on top. I had to hold someone on her back. So I was second from the top. It was me and another person, and me and her, and me and this other person had to hold someone up on her back. So the difficult part of it was climbing up there and then trying to get down. I think we ended up falling. It wasn't, and I feel like it was always our faults because usually the ones at top cause the fall of the pyramid. So I think I always ended up being the one that causes the most, that causes everyone to get upset. But I didn't care. But overall, senior year was fine. And then, Lord, do I want to combine college with this? Because there's so much about college I could talk in here, and I'm already almost at 2 hours. I've been talking for like 2 hours. It's been more than that because I keep having distractions, and my brain just hasn't been working. So, I don't know. I don't quite know if I want to. I guess we can. Oh, but sum up high school. High school was a very interesting time. It was a very interesting time. Do I recommend doing it again? Maybe junior year. Maybe junior year I would repeat it, but everything else, no. And then as a whole, I didn't have the best school experience in public school. I was always the one that got bullied and always picked on. I always got left out of everything. So I was always kind of the, what's the term? Something of all jokes. I'm 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 so great with words. Um, Center of the joke. I know that's not how you say it, but listen, deal with it. Bear with me. If you join the podcast, you know I don't know my words. I've picked a great profession, and I'm proud of it, even though I don't know how to talk half the time. But yeah, I was just kind of like the main target for their targeted joke. Okay, we're just gonna stop talking about that before my mouth has a seizure. Um, so I don't quite know. Um, what I guess if I could sum it all up in one word, my public school experience, I would say it was. Can hyphenated words be included? Life changing? I would either say life changing or it was crazy. It honestly was like a roller coaster ride. But yeah, life changing or crazy. That would be my one word summary of public school. I really do hope that the school has changed or that the school system there is better than it was when I went through it. Because I know personally they needed to do a lot of work because it was struggling. But I don't know it, how it is. Um, I'll try to get through college quickly. I went to Gaston State for 2 years, and during that time, I took um a reading. Um, oh well, I guess English class. Some point during school, after middle school, they kind of just threw reading out, and then reading and English considered to be a conjoined thing, which it ended up just being a reading class because they taught more reading material than English material. Except our sophomore year, our English teacher had to do like diagramming sentences. That was the most confusing shit. And that was something I just wasn't meant to know. And I'm okay with it. I was okay with not knowing how to do it. That was something that wasn't in my profession, and it's not something I need to know till I die. But I was okay in the college classes. I mean, I expected them to be difficult and hard, but I didn't expect. Well, it was all, most of them were all virtual because out of the pandemic, it was still going on. It was not going away. So I was very much in a different whirlwind and wasn't getting the full experience. We had one class in person, and it was a English class. We had to watch during that first block the most disgusting movie everything. I think it was like, and I accidentally joined the group call by accident. Oh my god, I think that's time for me to like get off the phone and like go to bed because now they're gonna be like, "Why'd you leave so quick?" I'm kicking myself in the foot. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I think we have a little bit of a lesson learned here that during the podcasting, if I am podcasting, that I do not join the call mid sentence, or else we're gonna get more stuff in there. So apologies. I'll have to try to go in there and edit that out. So that was fun. So that we'll add that to the list of dumb stuff I've done on this show. Uh, okay, where to go from here? I took a back class online, which the teacher was a total bitch, was a full on bitch to me. Um, which I was a bitch right back, and I full on cheated on them tests. I will gladly say that majority of my college year, I cheated through it. I'm not the only one. I'm not gonna be the last one. I definitely as hell was not the first one. So every time that we had to take a test and it was not proctored, I used my notes because they weren't gonna know. She wasn't gonna know. She was such an asshole to me. I really wanted to call her out and be like, you're such a shitty teacher." But I didn't because I was a good person at the time. Because I was a nice person. But yeah, it was more of a just take it and just rage at it and complain to your parents after you're done with the phone. She got mad at me one time because I couldn't, because we had to, what did we do? Because I feel like I cheated during this test. What did I do? Because I feel like I did. Or did I just study it good enough to where I just knew how to do it? I think that's how I did it. Because I think I was still scared to like cheat while it was proctored. um, goodness. Yeah. The, um, the, why am I getting jittery? I'm getting the giggles now. I told, well, side note, telling one of my best friends that I accidentally joined the group called Mid Podcast, so it was just a me quick in and out. So, oh, can't wait to see what he says. So, and he went through those stories a little too quickly, so I know for in hell he did not listen to them, or maybe it was just like one or two. I don't know, but um, yeah, I'm cheated on most of the quizzes. Once I learned how to, English was fine. I took a lot of unnecessary classes that weren't really important, and then second year at Gadsden State, I took a biology class. That was fun. I liked it. We didn't dissect as much as I thought we were going to, but hey, for what it was, and it was like I think it was 8 a.m. class too. That was just a struggle. Having to wake up at early, or was it? No, it wasn't 7 a.m. It wasn't that early. It was like 8 a.m. So to be there at 8 for a class that you actually had to pay attention to, little bit of a struggle bus. We had some good students in there though. There was there was a woman in there that was had kids and was going back for school. She was funny. She was absolutely funny. She could just bring the whole thing to the whole mood to the class back up if we're having a bad day. She was so funny. And then we had a kid in there. He was very, very odd. And I think we were either taking just a regular final, or we were taking our final exams for the class. And I think it got down to me, my best friend, maybe another person, and this kid. Well, me and my best friend were still taking it because we were taking our time, because our teacher really made it to where we didn't have to rush. If we went over time, we could take it. She was nice about it. And I think we also had like 2 hours to take it, so it wasn't like a huge rush. Um, but we were taking it, and then halfway through it, the kid behind us, he got done, and as he was leaving the room, you could just hear him halfway down the hallway say, "Well, I failed that test," and then and then me and my best friend looked at each other, and we just started laughing, and we looked at our teacher and said, "Just give us 1 second. We're so sorry." And then our teacher started laughing too. I said, "Just give us one moment." We started laughing, and we were like, "Close the door," or something. And She said, and then we told her, we said, just give us 1 second of laughter. Let's give us 1 second of laughter, and then we'll continue on. But it was just so unexpected to hear, like, halfway through the thing, just him go, I failed that test. So that was funny. I really, we, that was just a good way to end the test and everything. But yeah, we had a lot of good memories out there in that class. Me and my best friend studied so much. We also took a English class, and then we had to watch Hamilton during that. Let me just say this: I do not get what the hype of Hamilton was. I don't. It was 2.5 to 3 hours of nonstop singing. It was one of those moments where I wish that I would have watched it on my own so then I didn't have to go and endure it. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I know all these Broadway people are going to come for me, theater people are going to be like, wait, you listen, I don't like Broadway. It's not for me. I don't need to hear everything in song. Like, I don't need to hear, so are you going on the day? Sorry, are you going out tonight? I don't need to hear that in song. I don't need to hear about cheating in music or your morning routine as a song. I don't need to know it. Just say it. Just say it, don't sing it. So that was an experience. And then we took a psychology class, and our teacher was scared to say the word penis and vagina. And I thought, ma'am, do you not know what class you signed up for and decided to teach? I mean, some of these classes, because it was a psychology class, at some point, some of the stuff you talk about is going to have to pertain to our sexual organs. So even sex was a word she couldn't say. I thought, ma'am, you need to pick a different profession because this is not the profession for you. So we thought it was just a little like odd that she couldn't stand to say. It was like she didn't even know what a penis was. I was like, ma'am, no, ma'am. But yeah, I took those, and then we took some more BS classes that I cheated on too. So listen, I don't think I would have ever been able to graduate college if cheating was not possible. Which, don't get me wrong, there were still times when I cheated and still failed. So don't think that, oh, he made all these good grades. There were moments where I failed. So now we kind of get into more of the Auburn story. So this whole story is a mess in itself. So while I was taking the classes here at Gadsden State, about halfway through, we desperately wanted to transfer, and then we had some very unfortunate events happen to where I couldn't really do the transfer thing until I had done 2 years at Gaston State because I still was far behind on classes. Because for the main purpose of my the staff at Gadsden were just dumb. They were dumb and did not know anything that they were saying or doing. They really, really messed me up. And I don't think, I think I honestly did awful there and had all these problems because there was no one professionally intelligent working the transfer part. But about January of 22, I resubmitted my application to Auburn and just prayed for a few months. And then a few months went by, and then I remember my mom and I went on vacation. We had gone on vacation, and I promised her, I said, I'm not going to look at my school email. I'm not going to look at my personal email. I'm not going to look at any of that. I wanted this vacation to be not worrying about if I got accepted into Auburn or not. So then, while I was on vacation, I couldn't help myself, and I had to look. I just had to look. It was it was a thing telling me you have to look. So I pulled up my email, and I did see a note from Auburn, it was an email from them, and I thought, oh, this could be anything. And luckily enough, the email that I got was my acceptance email. I had finally got accepted into the Auburn. So then we went through the whole process of signing up for classes there. My mom and I traveled down to Auburn to meet with my advisor that I had, which was smarter than the original other one that I had. The other one I had was really dumb and was a real huge asshole. He was just a really big jerk. So I'm hoping that he got fired because he was an ass. But I continued. So once we got here to Auburn, I lived in an apartment off campus. I did not want to live on campus per se. I just they usually had on campus housing for freshmen and maybe sophomores that still are not comfortable living off campus yet. And Auburn's a huge campus. If you've never been, it's huge. And so there's a lot to explore and there's a lot of buildings to find. And if you live on campus, it's easier to live on campus because you're not stressed out about parking. You're not stressed out about having to wait for the transit bus to come around. Your classes are could be closed, but could be a walk. But all the apartment complexes and dorms on campus were close to a classroom of some sort, and like they're building a huge dorm room now across from a huge classroom building that's very confusing. So to people that live in that building and have a classroom across the like literally across the opposite side of the concourse, they'll be happy that they live there. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about the roommate section because roommates are going to have their whole episode because there's a lot to say about those. But yeah, I had two guys when I moved in, and I they helped me get settled. So the first set of classes that I took my first semester here were mostly in person. They were all had to do in the classroom setting. I think there might have been one or two that were online. For my first semester, I was still having to take science. I was still having to take a biology because Gaston State failed to tell me that instead of having one, I had to have two. And they didn't dare mention that. So I was having to take a biology class as well as a history class. So I took basic biology, or essentially biology part two. And that class came with a lab. I took the lab class. Nothing out of the ordinary. Um, I then took, let's see, I took a biology, and that had a lab. The lab was in the morning, very, very early in the morning, and we didn't really do anything in there. To wake up for an 8 a.m. lab to not do anything was kind of a letdown. We did dissect something, but I was just recovering from the flu. And so obviously, I was not in the mindset to dissect something after just recovering from being sick. So that was not fun for me. But I did take history. Let me tell you about the history teacher. The history teacher that we had was a complete asshole. He was a huge jerk. I don't want to put the label on him, but it kind of showed me how liberals are. He was full liberal, and the only reason why I know is because I looked on his Facebook because I looked him up because I was nosy. I mean, I can get a good vibe from a teacher first day of class. Like from my biology teacher, she was so nice and sweet and laid back, and I thought, oh, she's gonna be fun. The first words that came out of this history teacher's mouth was already enough for me. He was such a oh, I can say this over an asshole. He was. Um, he still lived in like COVID times, and again, this was like 2 years after the pandemic started, and I thought, sir, if you're still that terrified of COVID, stay home. Just stay home. I don't know why you're even g- coming here in person. If you're still terrified of COVID that much to where you're still wearing a mask, stay home. Stay home. So we all had to wear a mask. It was mandatory. If we didn't have one, we couldn't come in. I mean, he was like that paranoid. And he'd always go on these random rants that had nothing to do with the class. I remember he did a 20-minute rant about Alabama voting, and I thought, this has nothing to do with World War II. This has nothing to do with the 1900s. What does this have to do? What? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely jack shit. And then his class was more of a not a hybrid, but if you didn't want to come in person, you could just do it online. I went in person for a few weeks, and then after I got sick with the flu, I ended up having to go back home because I was really sick. And I did class online from home. And I remember I think I had to take an exam back home. And I showed the test to my mom, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, Lord." It was hard. And his tests were hard. I failed every single one of them tests, and I cheated. And he said, no, this was his logic. And now you can maybe agree, or you might agree with him, but this just confused me. He told us that we could cheat on the test. However, he said that we could use a textbook, our notes, or the history website that we used, but we couldn't ask for help. Now, I don't know what your definition of cheating is, but if you're allowing students to use their textbook, notes, and articles, then what's the difference in doing that and then taking the test with a group of people? His logic didn't make sense. It was like, oh, you can't cheat, but yeah, you can use your textbook and everything else. I thought, do you not understand the definition of that? So we couldn't get help from anyone, but we could use all of our resources. We could use Google. So he looked like he looked like he was 40, but in his mind, I think he was like a 90, 100-year-old from like the BC era. That was his brain level. And then I got in trouble one day in class because I was taking pictures of the notes and slideshows, because it was one of those classes where I just couldn't write fast, and so I just recorded his class. And I thought, I'm just going to take pictures, because every class that I was in, it was usually allowed for you to take pictures of the slides. He said, don't take pictures of my slides, that's copyright. Oh, so so you're telling me any PowerPoint I've made in the past is copyright? So I thought, I've never heard a teacher say, you can't use my PowerPoint, that's a form of copyright. I thought, you ain't YouTube. I thought, what are you going to do? Hand me a settlement and we're going to go to court? I'm not going to post all this information online. No one's going to give two shits about it. No one really gives a damn about what you're talking about. So trust me, I still took pictures anyways. And here's the smart thing: after I got sick, I decided just to do class from home on Zoom. And what I did that whole time is I laid in my bed. I put the speech to text feature on Microsoft Word, and it copied every word he was saying. And I took pictures of the slides from my bed. He had no clue. So yeah, and so I could take the pictures in my home, and I could play on my phone while you were in class. So, because my laptop actually did a pretty decent job of copying what he was saying. Because usually with those speech to text, it can get wonky because sometimes the algorithm can't decipher what word someone's saying. So I was happy that it actually did copy word for word, which none of the stuff he said or presented in class was on a test. So it was basically writing notes for shit. You could just show up and not do anything, or just lay in bed and not do anything. But of course, I tried everything I could. I hope he got fired because he was just an awful teacher. I think, told people, I said, don't take him. Just don't, whatever you do, don't take him. And he didn't have like a good rate my professor score either, because he was just that bad. And so I did his class, so I passed it, but I don't know if I should be happy I passed or sad that I passed. But another class that I took during that time was it was kind of a journalism class, but it was taught in a huge hall. It was it was one of the big auditoriums that they have there, and I think there were around 200, maybe between 200 300 people in there. It was one of the bigger classes I had ever taken. The teacher had this weird attendance policy. I'm just going to be upfront. Teachers, this is not middle school. This is not high school. You do not need to be trying to keep track of attendance, okay? If we don't want to come to class, that's on us. We'll learn. Sometimes we just need a mental break, and we don't need to come to class. So I've always been against teachers that do attendance because I thought that's so, to me, childish. I thought this is not public school. This is not K through 12 type learning where you have to show up. College is not mandatory to show up. So I never really skipped class. I skipped this class twice because I overslept. It was the first time I've ever overslept and slept through a class. I didn't ever do it again. But yeah, I used up my 2 free absences for that. So, and it was the whole thing of excused absences. I thought, are you stuck in normal school settings? Upgrade. You need to do a little software update in your brain. So, and her class was okay. She was really against laptops, iPads, phones, and I thought, ma'am, this is 2022. This is not 2002. Okay? Most students nowadays are using technology. We don't use paper, we don't use pencils or pens. We use Word, PowerPoint, and then any of the note taking apps on an iPad. That's what we use. We do not use paper and pens. We don't know what that is. So she was against that. And she also had this thing where, for the attendance, if you did show up, but you had to get up and leave class for something, you would automatically be marked absent. So essentially was, you can't get out of your seat. Once you're in here, you can't leave. And I thought, she'll say that, and it's going to be real funny when someone pees in the class, and then she or someone else has to come in there and clean it up. Because you had a stupid rule in there that says that we couldn't go to the bathroom. And she also had like student aides going around taking attendance. I mean, it looked like a cult. She was a nice teacher, don't get me wrong, she was nice, but just some of her classroom rules and how she ran the class was a little questionable. So I took those 3 classes, and then there was a class online that I took that was it was a grammar type class. You know, a class that I needed. Obviously did not do anything because I still do not know English, but the teacher that we had, he was kind of a dick. He was. I think he quit halfway through the semester. I think we got a new teacher halfway through. I think every time we asked him a question, he'd get mad. He was one of those teachers that would get mad, and I thought, oh, I've dealt with so many teachers that are like him that get mad over you asking questions. I thought, well, then if you don't want to be asked questions, don't take a teaching job. Don't take it. If you don't want to be asked questions all the time, do something else. So I took those 4 classes my first semester. And then the second semester, I took. Oh, now this is where it gets a little iffy because I can't fully remember what classes I took. And I can't really pull them up because all the apps that I use are gone. I remember I took Spanish. And then I took or did I take Spanish like second year? Oh, my years are running together. I can't fully remember what year I took it. I think I might have took it like second semester of that year. I feel like I did. I'm just not going to worry about what I take. I'm just going to tell you the classes I took here because I can't sit here and think of classes because then that'll just get me confused and get me mad because I can't think. So I'm just going to try to remember all the classes I've taken, and this is just from my time here. I took elementary Spanish 1 and 2, and I had 2 of the most bullshit teachers because I thought that we were basically, it was like elementary Spanish 1010 or like 1,000 course, but she thought it was like a million course. So elementary 1, she thought that we just automatically knew Spanish, and I thought, I can barely speak English. Do you think I know another language? I thought, you do not know where I come from. We talk in broken English. We do not. We drop ing, we add in to any word. So like spinning is spinning. We have a very thick accent, and you think that I know Spanish? Child, girl. No. When she walked in the class, though, we thought that she was a student, but she was our teacher. I said, "What? How old are you? 19?" She looked 19. I'm not even kidding, y'all. It looked like she just graduated high school. And I thought, did you just skip college out and completely? So that class was not fun. The students in there were fun. The students made the class. If I had like a bad teacher and a bad class, oh, that would have been the class from hell. But the students in there made the class better because we all kind of just struggled through it. We just all basically tried to support each other in there. We tried our best. We struggled hardcore in there. And then I took a some kind of journalism news class. The teacher that I had was really good. She was one of the few teachers that I took at Auburn that I would consciously want to go visit and see again to talk to them and just give them updates. She was really nice. Then I had some male teachers do journalism, and they were way nicer than the other male teachers I've had. I took a news production class. I think it was like broadcast and digital news production, and then broadcast and digital news reporting. So it was two classes that kind of were the same, but one focused more on the reporting side of news and one focused on more of the production behind the scenes. We actually practiced, and we didn't go to a news station, but our teacher had set up a news station in our classroom. He had an anchor desk for two anchors to sit at. He had, I think, news cameras that had two people be it as a camera operator. He then had two people, and I was included, do the when you're watching the news and they go from the news anchors talking at the desk and then they flip it and then they send it to the story and it shows news packages. I did that. I can't tell you how stressful that job was. I was stressed for like the whole because I think we did like a normal 7-8 minute newscast. It was like right at the beginning. Those 7 and 8 minutes were some of the stressful minutes of my life. I was having to click all kinds of buttons. I was having to open up tabs, close out videos, enlarge stuff, and I was always like just like a second or two behind. So when it flipped to the package, you could see me like clicking the expand button and putting it in full screen. I got better as I went along, but it was just like very stressful. So I did that, and it was actually a very neat experience. It actually kind of showed me because I always wondered what that was, like how they did the news packages. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was actually really fun. I took a magazine and feature writing class. I took that with a professor that I had multiple times. Um, she was one of the only professors that I had that I took for and had for like every journalism class. I think she taught about 3 or 4 classes I was in. Um, that class was fun. It kind of showed me that how much of a good writer I am. And I used to cannot write for shit. I couldn't write anything. And then that class kind of helped get my writing in. So I actually am glad that I took that class. I took a podcasting class. If you're wondering how this podcast really started or how I even knew how to start it came from that class. It was a new class. I think that they were starting up there, and I told my advisor, I want to be up the first one. Let's get in that podcast class. I said, do whatever you have to. I won't in that class. I had learned about it because we'll do like the cult teacher for the classroom where attendance was not required. She had some guests come in and they would talk about offering classes that were, nothing that were in my league. Well, she had a guest speaker come in, and it was another guy, and I thought, oh, he's going to come in here talking about something sports journalism related. And when he started speaking, he said podcast, and I perked up in my seat and I said, hello. I said, I'm listening. When he said podcast, I perked up. I was like, I'm awake. I was about to just be like looking at my notebook, twiddling with my thumbs, and then when he said that word, I was like K9. My my dog senses went right in. And so I took that class, and that was a very fun class. We had a good group of students in there. Um, I learned how to edit and record. Um, the posting, I've had to do a lot of that on my own because we didn't really learn that. So a lot of getting all this stuff posted and how to sign up for stuff, that was more I had to figure that out. But yeah, the podcast for these actually based on in that class. So if it wasn't for that class, I would not have the podcast or both podcasts, as a matter of fact. Uh, let's see. And if I forget a class, oh well. I took a um, I took a photography class. That teacher was so critical. I'm not kidding. Was so critical about everything I did. Every photo. I mean, you could show a picture of the Mona Lisa and she'd have something critique to say about it. That's how much of a critique she was. I thought, ma'am, I don't know how to work a camera. She kept getting on to me because my camera settings were bad and she was mad that I didn't do this one thing. And I said, accept the picture. Don't expect a lot from me. I'm not a professional at this. I'm just taking this as a goof off elective to fill in. I said, I'm not majoring in this. Relax. And like the camera had no guide. So I had to just sit here with a camera and figure out how to work the damn thing. So that was very fun to figure out. And then over the summer, I took a mass media law. That was the most useless class I'd ever needed. And people say, "You're a journalism major. Why did you have to take a law class?" That was the same question I had, and apparently no one knows the answer. The only thing and reasoning why I was told was that all journalism majors or majors that were in liberal arts, that was the class that you had to mandatory take. It was a mandatory class that every liberal arts student had to do, and that was about the furthest I got as an explanation. My advisor even didn't know why the class was mandatory, and it was basically politics shit that I didn't care about. It was more about the branches. It was about laws. I thought, I don't care about this. If someone is in law and they're studying to be a lawyer or they're wanting to work for the government, that class would have been perfect. But for someone like me that's doing wanting to be like a talk show host or an interview host or be an interviewer, I don't need that. I don't need it. So, that class was just a waste of time. Cheated on. I also cheated in that class, even though it was proctored. I'm not gonna give away my secret of how I did it. So, but yeah, I did. I still failed it and almost did not pass it. Even my mom was so against me cheating, but right at the very end, she said, do whatever you can. Do whatever you can to pass these classes. I don't care if you have to cheat and use Google. I don't care if you use your notes. I don't care if you write it on your hand. I don't care if you have it on your wall. I said, you do anything in your power to pass these classes. I don't care how you do it. And I said, okay. Because we got to that point. I also took a art class. It was a very basic, and it was one of the more fun classes I took over the summer that was a little bit enjoyable, but it was a lot of history about art, and it was another one of those things. It just is elective. I don't care about I don't care about it. I'm not going to be a historian. I'm not going to work in a museum. I'm not going to be a professional artist. I don't need to learn all that. So that class was more of a I could have lived without it. But then we got to other parts of history, and then we had to like create our own museum floor plan, which that was kind of fun, but it wasn't my favorite. There's another class that I took. Oh, there was a class that we took, and I can't remember the name, but it was I think it was like a workplace class or intro to work, something along those lines. This teacher, I swear, was Satan. She was a complete bit. She got mad at a whole bunch of students because apparently she gave us zeros for assignments that we turned in. It got so bad, I actually reported her ass to the dean. I did. I sent the dean an email and I told him that I want my name to be private, but there's multiple students in this class because I was the one that created the group me's. If you went to Auburn and if you're wondering if any of these classes if you've taken in the past, more than likely I was the one that made the group me's. You're welcome. So I always sat down and added every classmate to those so you can thank me. And we were just talking shit about her in there. And other students emailed and reported her too. I don't know if they took any action. Probably not. I don't think they would have, but she needed to be fired because she was not being fair to anyone. Because some people were like, yeah, I turned it in like days before it was due, and apparently I sent in the wrong link and she gave me a zero for it. I thought that now that's unfair for someone to get ahead and like turn an assignment in days before it's due. I mean, I don't understand if it was someone that turned it in like 2 seconds before the due date, but come on, lady. At least be a little fair to the people that did it. So that was kind of frustrating. Then for then I took news writing. Same thing as like magazine feature writing, except it was more of an in-depth story. So consisted of the same thing, but we just had to do stories and write up an article and everything. It was fun. It kind of helped expand my writing ability. I did a finance class for a while. It was fine. It was just a bunch. I think our teacher in that class quit too. She just said deuces like halfway through the semester because I think I was going to email her about something and the teacher name changed. And I thought, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, what if we get a new teacher? So she apparently left and we didn't know. Let's see. What are any other classes? I took a I took a newspaper class, and that class was just odd because I didn't really learn anything in there. There was one public speaking thing that I did for the class. I went to Montgomery and we presented a newspaper handbook. It was some kind of handbook that we had presented to a bunch of professionals that were in the journalism field or journalism side, and we basically stood up there and presented it. I had to do it all by myself, which multiple students of us went. We went in groups, but the two girls that were in my group couldn't come for some reason, and so we couldn't go, or they couldn't go. So I had to do the whole section by myself, which I actually did pretty good on it. For it to be my first time speaking in front of people, I thought it was good practice for my profession. It really was. But I wasn't really nervous either because I was on some good medicine and I still am on some good medicine. So the medicine helped my nerves. So it went really well. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of long, but it wasn't bad. It was actually a good experience. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other. Oh, I did PE online. Basically didn't do shit. Uh, it was just basically stretching the truth a little bit. Improved my liability of on my lies. So all these things I told him of like, um, oh yeah, I played basketball today. I did like a 2 mile run. I did all that from bed. I thought I'm not getting out and doing this right now. I said no. And then um if I forgot, oh, and then there was a class that I took that was more of a futurist, not a futuristic class, but like a class to help you for the future, resumes, cover letters, job interviews, stuff like that. The teacher we had was nice, but come to find out, it seemed like all the stuff that she was teaching was complete nonsense and was actually useless. So everything I learned in that class was actually not true. So she was not a good teacher for that reason. But I remember I took a movie class. We watched some questionable movies in there. The movies were okay. They were not the best. It was mostly older movies. The only movies that I remember watching that I liked was Rear Window, which was like a 50s horror, kind of a suspenseful film. Suspense was more like it. And then we watched Get Out. And I actually had always wanted to watch Get Out. It was actually really good. It was a little confusing, but once you finally was able to catch up and figure out what was going on, then it was actually good. The other movies we watched in there were like, They wanted us to like watch Avengers or some Marvel movie, and I thought, I'm not sitting through a 3 hour movie. No, thank you, no ma'am. I'm not doing that. And then La La Land, they wanted us to watch that, and I did not watch it. I pretended that I watched it by just using Chat GPT. ChatGPT has been a little bit of a savior, if you will. I have definitely used those for cheating. I used Quizlet. I used Socratic. I used Google, ChatGPT. I mean, I had my resources and I used them to their full potential. But I think that's all the classes I took. If I'm leaving out a class, that means that it just wasn't worth. It was just not important. Um, all in all, my Auburn experience was okay. Um, I'm gonna be honest. Auburn has an image that they like to portray to the public, but the image that they portray is not what actually is the case. The students here are not really as accepting as they are in all the videos that you probably have seen. Um, they're not really acceptive of anything. It's more of a, if you're not in a fraternity, if you're not in a sorority or in any kind of student organization or club, you don't care. You don't matter. It was essentially like high school all over again. And, I think that's just the modern school age we're in now, where if you're not in some kind of sorority house, frat house, in any kind of club or anything to where you gain like some kind of recognition, you're just a ghost that just kind of floats in the wind here. It was, my experience here was okay. I'm not gonna say it was the best. I'm not gonna say it's the worst. It was right in the middle. There was some time, it was just good days and bad days. It just depended on the vibe, essentially. And I did meet some nice people and some good people in my classes, but just the overall feeling was there. The only thing that makes Auburn is Albee. That's about the only good thing about Auburn, really. It's Albee. And I'll be completely honest. There was actually a time where I was in an elevator and Albie got in the elevator with me and I didn't quite know how to react. Because I had seen him around campus and I'm always holding food in my hand or something where I can't shake or take a picture with him because I always have something in my hand. Well, this day, I had like nothing in my hand. I was just in the elevator. And he popped in. And I was like, I literally panicked because I thought, do I say something? Do I just stand here and don't do anything? It was very much of a, so this is happening moment. But yeah, I'm glad I graduated. I am so glad school is over. Um, to sum up school in general, before I get to your submissions, is that because I did get some stories from you guys as well. I basically was in jail for, it was like a, oh Lord, how long was I in jail for? So I started school when I was 5 years old, and then I didn't get out till I was 23 or 22. So 17 years. It was like a jail sentence of 17 years I served. Um, yeah, I mean that's the best way I can experience 17 years of jail hell. Um, I think the worst grade time was middle school for me. It's just how teachers did, and I think I didn't mention this earlier, but the middle school teachers were so rough. And if I did mention this when I go back and listen, I'll cut this part out of what I'm about to say. But there were like instances where they would pretend, there was one instance where they pretended that there was some kind of school shooting. Now I don't know how most schools are, but this was what our school did for lockdowns. They would say, send your red folder to the office. That was kind of the code that we gave of over about to have a lockdown. When we were in sixth grade, the teachers up in the office faked it. They pretended that there was a school shooting. They started screaming. And of course, we're all panicked. And then later on, we saw them and they're like, oh, yeah, it was a joke. I thought, really? That's something y'all joke about? So, yeah, I went to a school where they joked about school shootings and pretended that there was a serious threat when in actuality it was all for shits and giggles. So that's the kind of school I went to. If you think yours is worse, oh no, bitch. I have so many stories. Middle school was the time where we could be in a tornado warning and a tornado could be hitting our school. And then if we're getting sucked up in the tornado, if we're screaming, they'd go, once we land back down, you will have detention. I thought, because when we did these drills, they wanted us to be quiet. Now, let's be real. If a tornado comes through, do you think we're going to sit there and keep our mouth shut? No. We're going to sit there and we're going to scream. Like, they would literally be handing out detention slips in the middle of the tornado. That's just how strict they were. That's how much of a prison this school was. Um, but yeah, I served my 17-year jail sentence. I'm not going back for any more additional time. I am completely done. And I'm not going to look back at no more schoolwork ever again. People ask me if I'm going back for a master's. I'm like, nope. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I ain't going to do it. Don't have the brain power. Do not have the mentality to do that. So, now we're going to hear from you guys. So, I posted a survey that I had for you guys to participate in, and it was school related. So, for the survey, this is what I sent out and said. School can be a fun experience, but yet it can also be a nightmare. In today's episode, I will be discussing my school experience from kindergarten to college, and I would also love to hear from you. I always said that if you want to submit a story, fill out this form and have your story shared on the podcast. And I made a disclaimer that if you used any names, whether it was teachers, students, if you used a school, I would bleep all that out and everyone would remain anonymous. And I also did put that all submissions were anonymous. So I got 10 responses. And so the first question I asked was, I'm going to do more of a overview because there were some overview questions. I had a question that said, did you like school? And there was an answer of yes, no, and sometimes. 50% said sometimes, or 5 people said sometimes, 3 said no, and 2 said yes. The next question was, which grade level did you hate the most? And I said select all that applied. 7 people said elementary school, and 7 people also said middle school. 6 people said high school, and 2 people said college. So we're going to get into the individual ones now. Our first story, and then the next questions I said were, what grade does your story take place? And then explain. So this person's story takes place in 12th grade, so their senior year. And they said, I have a teacher from 12th grade and he would always be on his computer. Turns out he was doing college, but also writing an entire book that's actually going to be published and sold. I miss that teacher. He was amazing. Yeah, we had like a teacher for our 11th grade year. Also, was studying. I remember it was like junior year. Our history teacher was studying something. I don't know if she was actually studying something important or if she was studying how to sleep with the principal. Um, I don't know which one she was studying more, but yeah, she was studying something. This person also said that they actually liked senior year the most. I like that. I like that your senior year was um your most liked year. That's always good to hear. All right, our next story also takes place during 12th grade or senior year. They said it was 2019-2020 school year. It started out great. I was also that school year too. My senior year, nothing can stop me. I was/am a band kid, so I was of course the first choir and section leader of the clarinet section, and I was hand selected to be in a state honor band for the, and it was amazing. Then honor band for, but then as you assume, March 13th, 2020 hit and COVID shut everything down. I lost everything I worked so hard for. It was just a bunch of crap. That really does suck. What's weird is that I think you and me got out of the school the same day. Because around that period on March 13th, it was either somewhere around that week, our school shut down too. I was like you, senior year was also, I thought, was going to be a great year. And then when COVID hit and then all some other personal stuff hit the second half of the year, it just kind of went downhill from there. Um, the grade that you liked the most, you said, although it was crap, senior year and 12th grade was your the grade you liked the most. So again, I like that you were able to have you liked senior year. All right, so our next story takes place in college. We have a college one. They said my first gay experience, I had a guy over in my dorm after we had kind of been talking for a bit. We hooked up and then he didn't want to talk to me afterwards. Turned out he had a boyfriend that shared the same name as me, and I found out when I went to the lab one day and he asked who I was, and the guy said, "Oh, that's the other guy," and then he just left. I was so mad and upset. Fast forward to last year, I ended up talking to the other guy, and we both have a collective hate for the guy I hooked up with. It's kind of like revenge. Um, yeah. If I lived in a dorm, I don't know if I would want anyone, even if you're a close friend, a best friend, a longtime person. I don't think I'd want you in my dorm. I don't think so, because I feel like that's just like a setup or disaster waiting to happen. You said also that the grade you liked the most was middle school. Okay, well, can't relate. Next story we have this person just said explain in detail what happened in your story, and that is put ninth grade. Okay, so I guess there was a lot of stuff to say. But you did say that you liked 11th grade the most. Next, okay, well, this person said, "What grade is your story take in?" And they said art. I didn't know art was a grade. Does that happen in elementary school, middle school, or high school? I didn't know. Okay, they said that their experience was good, and then they said that the grade they liked the most was ninth grade. So, um, okay, next story we have is freshman year of high school. Um, they said we had this one math teacher that came from like China, but he was a white guy born in the USA. He looked like a mad scientist with his crazy white hair. He'd always call us names in different languages and was always super rude. He tried to make us feel stupid every day. I don't think I had a teacher like that. That was kind of. I mean, I had rude teachers, but I don't think I had any teachers like call us out by name. And that's weird. A white guy from China. Well, I'm kind of curious to see a picture of this dude. Um, you did for the bonus question. You said that you liked freshman year of college the most. That's good. That's always good to like your first year of college because a lot of students and people don't like their first year. So I'm glad that you were able to. Your first year of college was great. I like that. All right, our next story happens in 11th grade, junior year. They said, I overloaded it on all my classes and just got so burnt out. I hated school and would fake being sick every other day to not have to go. I loved my friends, but the workload made it horrible. So, I do have like questions about that though. Now, I'm not a pro, but isn't high school like a minimum of 4 to 5 classes you can take? So, I don't so was it a thing where you could take one class if you wanted and then one time take eight? Because our high school was 4 1 semester, for the other semester. And that's usually what they did. So I've never really seen a high school where you get overloaded on classes. Hmm. I've never actually heard of that. That's interesting. Oh, I think they said what grade they liked the most. You liked fifth grade the most. Okay. Our next story happens 10th grade and sophomore year. They said my sister was shot and died 1 month into my sophomore year, and I caught wind that people were mocking her death. Literally the worst time of my life. Oh, well, this episode couldn't go any darker. That's awful. Imagine mocking someone after they've died. I hope she comes back and haunts them. Tell her I give her permission. At night when you like, if you, I don't know if you're religious, but if you pray to your sister or like pray to her that I hope she mocks them and she haunts them for the rest of their lives. So I'm so sorry for your loss too. That's awful. I hope you're doing better, and karma will come back from your ass. Um, the grade that you liked the most was you said either 11th grade or the very beginning of 12th. Okay. That was usually that's kind of the same for me too. All right, our last submission was it takes place during the 7th grade. This person said, so basically I was dating this guy for about 5 months at the time, from mid-September to early January, and we broke up because he lost feelings. Turns out he liked another girl. I ended up hating that girl for a little while. He waited an exact month after we broke up to get with her, and then broke up with her 4 days later. Turns out he broke up with her because he still had feelings for me. We got back together about 2 weeks later, and then his ex-girlfriend and I became best friends, and she said we still are best friends to this day. And then he broke up with me again in June of that year. About 11 months later, I confessed I still liked him, and we got back together for the third time. God, what was I thinking? So I assume that y'all are not together again because you said for a third time. So are you still talking to this person? Are y'all still dating? It seems like he doesn't know what he wants. That's kind of like, and it's middle school, so boys and girls, they're not gonna be mature enough. And I'm not saying that you're immature. I'm just saying most kids around that age are not mature enough to handle a relationship. So maybe he is just not sure what he likes. Um, it's evident you like him because you've not cheated on anyone else. But I mean, to basically go from hating him to loving him again, hating him, loving him again is wild to me. My advice to you would be to leave that relationship. I mean, if it works now, just say fuck you or whatever I'm saying. But just from observations in the past, I have seen that's a relationship that you should leave. But it is kind of funny that you and this ex became friends and not best friends, and that you are still friends to this day. I like those kind of stories. It's kind of like y'all could have like some kind of revenge against him. And then you said the grade that you liked the most was fifth grade. That you said it was such a fever dream. So that's all the story. Goodness. That's all the stories and submissions. Again, thank you to everyone that did submit them and turn them in. I really do appreciate it. This is going to be one of those very, very long episodes that is going to take a very long time to go through and to decipher. But I think this episode turned out great. I really enjoyed talking about it. There was just so much to say about school. I mean, I have stories. I mean, this is going to be such a pain to edit because right now I'm at 3 hours. I've been talking about school in total for 3 hours. My voice hates me. I'm going to try to cut this down to under 3 hours. I'm going to try my best to cut out some stuff. But if you like this episode and you would like to have a stay tuned for more, feel free to follow the podcast and whatever you're listening to. I also don't like saying it, but if you want to leave a review, that's totally optional. I think reviews help my show get promoted more. Maybe I don't know how the rating stuff goes. I've heard people on podcasts say that, so I'm just following my peers. So if you want to leave like a little rating or a review, you're more than welcome to. If not, that's totally fine. You can catch me on social media. I do have a link tree that is posted on all my socials. It gives you information about where the podcast is listenable to. The podcast is available it has really expanded. It's still on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. It is now also on YouTube. It is just the audio version, not a physical camera footage, because I don't have time to do I barely managed 2 podcasts. To think that I'd have to also edit videos, no ma'am, no ma'am, we're not doing that. So, it's on YouTube as well. Search Noah's podcast. You can also follow the podcast on social media. It's Lethal Venom Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook, it's Noah's podcast on there. Again, everything's listed in the link tree. The link tree is in the bio on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Well, TikTok, it's on my personal one. I'm still in the process of trying to get that link up. It's not letting me because I don't think I have enough followers yet, which is dumb. But just go to my Instagram, and that link tree link will be in the bio. And of course, I'll put all this stuff in the description box as well. I don't really have any upcoming episodes ready. I think have a 2000s episode coming out, a music one, pet peeves, and then I also have other stuff. But I do appreciate you guys all for listening and tuning in. Thank you for listening to this very long one. I do apologize. I'll try not to make it this long again. Until next time, y'all stay safe. and be kind to one another. And see you in the next episode of Lethal Venom.